are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everyone. This is the EasyPower Tuesday refresher. The goal of this series is to reach out to EasyPower tool users with some insight about the use of the tools. And so the main focus is tips and techniques, and along the way we try to offer some nuggets of useful information that would be useful to a wide spectrum, from new users to more seasoned veterans. And so we welcome you to the discussion, and we appreciate your time and attendance this morning. So today we're talking about a list of features that includes custom title blocks. In a recent refresher, there was some feedback on one of the poll questions that indicated there was some need for some more information on customizing labels, customizing MCC schedules, and reports and drawings. And so this session falls into that vein. So specifically, we're going to cover some one-line diagram added features that have recently been announced with version 9.8. And we're also going to talk about some easy-controlled enhancements that make usability better. And then we'll get into the doing customized title blocks. I just want a reminder that we actually actively seek feedback, both critical and positive suggestions on how to improve the tools in terms of maybe features or a way that you think might enhance your ability to use the tools along the way. You'll notice in the tool frame itself there's actually a feedback tab at the top right, and these notes and suggestions are reviewed periodically, prioritized, and some number of that list is included as we expand new releases of the tool. So I encourage feedback either through tech support or through that feedback feature in the tools. So EasyPower 9.8 included a feature that I don't think we've spent much time talking about. That's called Media Gallery, and what it allows us to do is to attach images to the files and include data. These images can be attached to or linked to the one-line diagram and the elements in it. And what that means is the pictures that you take during a survey can actually be saved with the file and then reviewed in the future if necessary. So we're going to jump into the tools and show how this works in one of the examples. Of course, when I do an empty screen, here's what. So here's an EasyPower example from a sample file called Protection 1, and this has no correlation to any pictures, but if I were on a new project, either starting a one-line or even a one-line diagram that I'm updating, and I've gone out to the system and taken new pictures, what I want to do is import those new images into the Media Gallery. So under the Windows pull down, there's a View Media Gallery tag, and as I open that up, at this point I don't have any images in there. I'm going to add images to it, and so I go out to the folder where I've stored the pictures that I've taken, and I'm just going to select all of these and bring them all in. And now I can link them at this point. It's taking a second to think about it. Or I can go into each of the elements and add the images to each element. For instance, let's say my utility connection here. If I were going to look at the details there, you'll notice each element dialog box has this little right caret that allows me to expand a panel, and this is referenced as the Media Gallery, So let's say, for instance, I've collected or received from the utility company some information that's valuable in terms of my study. I can attach it and then create a tag. Let's say this is the main building. I'm going to tag this with a main building tag so it can be sorted later on. And as we do that, now that has that linkage. Now as I start to enter the data, I can refer to the information I've received as I'm changing or filling out the details of my one-line diagram. Likewise, let's say I wanted to also include, I guess in this case I might have an overview of the whole system. So I took a picture of the utility closet, and this gives me kind of a reference to what it is I'm doing for the whole project. And so in my process, this is a starting point, and I'd want to associate it. So likewise, when we get into each of the elements, let's say a transformer, the same philosophy applies. Let's say I've taken a picture of the nameplate on the transformer, and so now as I look at that, I can see all the details if for whatever reason I missed them in the actual properties of the transformer, and consequently these will be carried. And it may be there may be information on here that we want to carry forward that for some reason I didn't put in my template for data collection to start with, and so I can, if you will, revise or improve my process along the way by going back and checking the nameplates that I've recorded. So anyway, extremely valuable, and now those images will be carried with this one-line diagram file as we go forward. So that's built into EasyPower 9.8, and as you're kind of going through each of your elements in the one-line diagram, that's the explanation point for this panel to the right in each of the dialog boxes. Pretty neat. All right, next thing we want to talk about. In EasyControls, we've added a feature called Name View, and it's very valuable, especially in large, complex one-line diagrams, to move around rather than doing a lot of scrolling and having to move the mouse multiple times to get across the page. And so what I'm going to do is use the bigger example in our sample file and show you how to implement name views. So let's close this puppy down and open up bigger. Now, everyone should be or may be familiar with the find function. So if I'm at, say, a level of detail like this, and I'm looking for a specific breaker, the find function is meant for that purpose. Let's say we're looking for the Clearwater bus. So I've selected the buses. It shows me only the buses. I'm going to pick out Clearwater, and as I click OK, the tool takes me to that element in the one line. And so if I know where I'm going, or if I know the specific element that I'm looking for, this can be very useful, and consequently it's filled a need up until this time. With the advent of 9.7, we actually released in EasyControls a function or a capability called named views. So here I'm in the one-line diagram. Let's go ahead and zoom out to the full extent of the one line, which I use the bottom of these three magnifying glasses at the top. And what I want to do is go into EasyControls, my one-line diagram, named views, and what I've done is I've saved the settings, which include the scroll and pan, for specific parts of the system that I may want to reference at some point in time during analysis or while I'm drawing the one line. So here I've saved the utility. Here I've saved the settings to find switchgear 5, and here bus B. The way I'll do that is let's kind of go, let's say I want to at some point in time reference this transformer here, TX10, and the circuitry around it. So this is the setup of the screen that I want it to show me. I go into my named views. I add a named view with a blank page here, and I label it. In this case, we're going to call it TX10. And now when I want to go back there, I can just click TX10 and it'll take me to those settings. So it eliminates having to scroll and hunt for stuff in general vicinity of some part of the system that I'm looking for. So that ends up being, I think, very valuable. And that brings us to the custom title blocks. Now, the last session we did similar to this, we got into the details of XML templates. And what it amounts to is that the markup language that we use for templates is open source and relatively easy to master, but if you only do it once in a while, it takes a little bit of review. And so the recommendation is in a larger shop to have a junior member assigned to go out and learn the coding required to modify the templates. And what I'm about to do is walk through what that process would be. And so this is not meant to be an exhaustive explanation of how to program in XML, but an example of how easy it is to make some adjustments. The purpose being that we want to essentially allow the tool users to develop a look and feel that may be unique to their corporate image, or may give them extra value in terms of the organization of the drawings in either color or type style. And so it gives you a measure of control, and because things are applied or things are developed through templates, you can modify these either as a standard for the company or as a standard for a specific project. Now, along that, the XML editor can be utilized with any kind of basic notepad or word processor that doesn't do a lot of interpreting. In the case that you're going to see now, we're using Notepad++ just because it has some added value in terms of color coding and separating out some of the command structure. What you'll see is that we've divided, or we've set aside, the templates in special folders now, so they're not buried either in the project, although they're carried in the installation guide, and these can be modified by you and saved with unique identifiers or even by project identifiers. And these are located under the installation My Documents, Easy 9.8 templates, and then in what we're looking at today is title blocks, but you'll see other templates for MCCs, one-line diagrams, panels, panel schedules, and the like. So what we're going to do is take, and I encourage you to play with this particular project because it actually has an error in it, and one of the first things I'm going to do is modify it so that the error has been corrected. But these are all in the EasyPower tools under Project Properties. So we're going to open up Protection 1, which is in the sample file that is included with each of the tool installations. Again, we're using EasyPower 9.8. And the first thing you'll see me do is correct an error in one of the templates, and then we're going to modify a template or go through the process of modifying a template. First of all, we're going to set up a copy so that we're not overwriting the actual original file, and so we give it a different name where we're going to be making the changes. And the easiest thing to do at this point is just to change some colors and some style settings, show you how that's done, and then suggest that you may want to consider what that permits for your particular needs, and as well as any other feature that's in the tool. If you get to a point where you're having a problem with this and you'd like some assistance, by all means, I encourage you to contact tech support, and some of the guys can help you walk through some of these details. So let's kind of go back and find our, I'm going to close this project out, go back and open up our protection 1. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this project is included in the sample folder, and if we go out and look at what the installation looks like with my Windows Explorer, and we look at My Documents, EasyPower 9.8, we can see under this folder, EasyPower 9.8, there's labels, device libraries, equipment defaults, logos. I put logos myself because I need to reference, in our case, logo files both for labels and for some of our reports. The templates that I was referring to are unique or set up by the type of schedule that's being modified. So switchgear, panel schedules, panel board. There's even a provision now for single phase panels, and we'll get to that in a future discussion. Where I'm going to be working today is in title blocks, and here you see a slew of different, and these are all basic templates for XML, and so this is where we're starting the discussion. All right, I'm in my database editor. I'm going to go in and look at my Properties tab. And so each of the properties, each of the dialog boxes have templates where we refer to either a default library path or a specified. So you don't have to necessarily use a library path that's the main installation. This can be somewhere specified, unique for the project that you're working on, and utilize custom templates for each of these. Now, for any particular device, when we go in and look at the properties, one of the things we find is there's a what I want to do is set the properties for each of the drawings. So I've already got drawings saved, and again, this is done under drawings, and each of these was saved with a new drawing display. So the way that was done, let's say I wanted to set up a drawing specifically for this panel, for these two panels and this transformer, left click and select, go to EasyControls, click on New Drawing Insert, and the tool will put that subsection inside a new drawing. So what I'm going to do is look at drawing 101, and we're going to change the template properties, and we're going to look at the title block, and this is the error that I was referring to earlier, both on E101, which should be in your example, and E104. When you go to open up the title block properties, you'll get an error that says you need to ensure that there's a valid title block file being pointed to. So we say OK, and the reason for the error is that right now we've specified a pointer to EasyPower 9.5, which I do not have on this particular installation. So first thing I want to do is find out where, and what we're looking at is the template for this particular block, which is referred to as a horizontal, and instead of being in 9.5, it's going to be in 9.8 title blocks, and it's detailed 8.5 by 11 horizontal. Once I make that linkage, now we're good to go as far as what this title's properties are. Okay, so what I want to do is modify this. And specifically, I want to modify the contents, the look and presentation of this particular section down here, which is the title block. And to do that, I'm going to go back out to my folder, open up the title blocks. Now again, what we're talking about is this detailed 8.5 by 11 horizontal. I'm going to right-click and copy, and then I'm going to put another copy inside the folder. So I'm going to paste, and as I do that, it's relabeled this, and I'm going to change it from copy to color because I want to change the color on my. That's one of the things I can change on this template. So let's go ahead and save this. Now, from this particular file, we come back up here. Here's the copy I just made. I'm going to right-click and open with or edit with Notepad++. So here you can see the example between the difference between Notepad and Notepad++ is all these colors are of this ++ feature, which lets us go through and look at each of the elements for the block. So let's kind of get rid of this. And what this is referring to is specifically the title block at the bottom. So the main box is what's being drawn, and just for grins, let's change the color on that. Well, the way I do that, or the reference for all of this is, I'm going to go back to my user from my start page. I'm going to open up my user guide, and then let's go back to and in the user guide, I'm going to search on title blocks. Now what we'll see is we've jumped into essentially a title block format, and it gives me the ability to go in and find where each of these elements are controlled. First thing is it's controlled by a large rectangle, which is the box, and from there it puts in some vertical lines and some horizontal lines. And the thing I want to look at is color, so I'm going to search on color from this point, and we'll see it's an optional setting, and it's telling us to look at page 195 for more information. So I'm going to skip over to 195, and here we see a reference to a bunch of hex code or hex values that can be used for each color. And so just for general purpose, let's go ahead and go with red, which is 4 F's and 4 zeros. Okay, I'm going to go back to my notepad, and in my main block I'm going to change the color here from 4 F's to 4 F's and 4 zeros. Now as I save this and then go back to my one line, I'm I'm going to zoom in and make sure we're keeping an eye on this. The way I can check this now is go back to my properties, reload this particular location and make sure it's pointing to the color that I just changed and update it. And now you can see we have a red external rectangle by virtue of that one setting that we've changed. So like, okay, I'm on a roll. Let's see if we can't make some, we're going to skip the lines. I'm going to go down and change the color of my label. So here's my revision. What I want to look for is the equipment. This is all my revision levels. Let's go back and find now this is where it takes a little bit of patience to make sure you're locating the specific element that you want to verify. So the horizontal lines are you can see how this relates to the title block as you get into the code. So I don't want to mess with the revision block now. What I want to do, and I'm going to leave the logo the same, we're going to look at the label for the device element. And at this point it's not totally apparent that the we're going to change this code right here. I'm expecting this to change my name, and it's probably not because it's font size 5. I want to look for font size 14. Here we go. So this is where I want it. All right, so I want my equipment name to be red. I want to change the font size. Let's go ahead and make it a bold and italic. So we're going to change this to a 1. Change this to a 1. Now again, I'm working in the color template that I created. I'm going to save it. Let's go back to my drawing. Go into Properties. Update the title block. We're still pointed at the same one. And so what I did, I changed was the title, the word title. I didn't change the description, the text for the name. So here's what I meant to change. But this again, if you had the time just to read the instructions, it'd make a whole lot more sense, and you wouldn't be going through the hunt and peck hacker's mentality that I'm demonstrating. But if you're only going to do it once, this works too. So now I've updated the again the area for the text. I'm going to save it. We're going to go back and reload this particular property for the color block. Now you can see I've changed my equipment title to a different color and bold and italic. Okay, with this, now I can compare this to, okay, what is it originally? And by doing that, I go back and just point to the file that I haven't changed, which will be the detailed horizontal 8.5. All right, so what have we done? We've essentially permitted the title block to be modified in any color, in any way. We could start with your own title block and not have to work from any of the templates that we give you, but there's about 24 examples there. And the bottom line is you can modify, customize, and develop a look and feel or presentation that you may want to standardize either for a specific customer or for your entire company. So what have we covered in the last 30 minutes? We've shown how to use a media gallery to link pictures that we've taken during a data collection to specific elements in our one line. We've used name view to permit easier navigation around a large one-line diagram. And then finally, with the hacker mentality that I possess, we've been able to customize title blocks to improve the look, feel, and presentation of the drawings that we may include as part of our deliverables to our customers. So I appreciate everyone's patience, and I would remind you that if you have questions or would like some assistance in modifying or customizing your own templates, you're more than welcome to contact support@easypower.com. Likewise, I'd suggest that people may want to consider attending the regional training, which is going to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area towards the end of this month. And then for those of you with an interest in harmonics and dynamic stability, we'll have that course starting October 31st here in Portland. Appreciate